Good evening, everyone. This is Jon Lancelot here in New Jersey, Real Progressives. And it's good to see everyone tonight. And we have a great guest tonight. And that's Chanda Masta. And she is a hardworking progressive. We're going to hear her story. And I've been pursuing this story for a while. And she's done a lot of good work. And she's just going to explain everything that she's done for the movement. But I definitely want to talk about one thing before we bring her on, and that is, the consistency within our movement. Consistency is important when we're dealing with policies, when we're presenting our progressive ideals to the people. We have to change and be able to change with the times. And in the 21st century, where the internet is basically our primary mode of communication, we still have to deal with the television age. And the television age is one of the things that we have to pay attention to because it's still a medium. And we all know that the mainstream media, they still, endorse both parties. They don't really air the grievances of the people. And when it comes to our political revolution, they really try to stifle it. And it is not uncommon for governments and media organizations within nation states to do that. And so we shouldn't really feel bad that this is happening, but we have to find a way around it. And so that's why we're here. We're here to forge a new direction for the country. And the work that we're all doing is very important. And that's why I wanted to have Chanda on, because she's going to talk about her work in Washington State. And here we are. So, hello. How are you, Chanda?
Hi, guys. I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually at the home of the regional director for Draft Bernie here in Washington State, which is also the home of the CPC, which is the Clallam Progressive Coalition. We were a Bernie group, Clallam County for Bernie. We are the furthest most county in Washington State. I can see the Strait of Juan de Fuca right now, and I can see Canada. And we're very rural. We're about 100 miles outside of Seattle to the northwest. And we just came together. I originally started out as a rank and file Dem who supported Hillary Clinton and said naive things like, I'm ready for her. And, so in August of 2015, I joined the Chalk the Block campaign for Bernie Sanders, which was a campaign where we went around and we drew Bernie with sidewalk chalk and took pictures of it and put it on social media. And that really was my first bite of wanting to be making people think about these politicians who are not representing the working class. And just to give you a little background on myself, I raised 3 children by myself. They're all in their 20s now. I was a single mom. I worked for very low wages. I fed my children out of food banks and with the help of EBT and food stamps with programs. And I voted Democrat my whole life, and I didn't realize I was voting against myself. I actually voted, for Clinton in '92. So basically what I did was I voted to kick myself off of any assistance when I did that. So I started getting in contact with other Bernie supporters locally. We had a group that was meeting in phone banking faithfully every Friday. And we were doing that at Democratic headquarters, oddly enough. And, coming into the Democratic society, whatever you want to call it, we were put in a very crazy position. We weren't allowed to talk about Bernie. We weren't allowed to have Bernie signs in the office. I mean, it was preordained for Hillary from the very get-go. And being inside the party, it was very clear. So I was elected a Bernie delegate at my county level at my first caucus. And then I went on to the next caucus and became a state delegate. I had never been involved with the Democratic Party till then. So I had to, fundraise, do GoFundMes to come up with the money to actually attend their conference or convention, which was $1,500 if you wanted to do the whole shebang, and which I did. So going into the state by that time, we had done about 3 caucuses. And the plain reality of the fact that Bernie didn't have a chance with the Democratic Party. You know, we were stopped at anytime we would make a motion, make a resolution, anything that supported what Bernie was saying, we were always shut down by the Democratic Party, always. And hopefully, I mean, I could probably talk to you for 4 hours about what I've been through in the last 18 months, but it's very, very clear that you cannot work within the Democratic Party and support Bernie's, you know, change it from within. It doesn't work. We took a whole committee into the Democratic Party and they threw us out pretty much.
You know, and this should be a cautionary tale for any of the dementors that are out there. And I'm never here trying to, you know, badmouth what they're doing. Obviously, they're working a strategy. However, we know that there are bylaws within the Democratic Party. There are operatives and donors within the Democratic Party. And they're not going to give that organization up easily. And you experienced that firsthand. And that's what I want the public to understand, that it is not like you could just go in and then get the votes and then all of a sudden you're running the Democratic Party. Can you tell us about your experience in the backlash and trying to participate in that party?
Okay, so the convention, the state convention was in June, right? And I had no plans of going to Philadelphia. Because I was an outwardly spoken Bernie or bust person, I applied to be a delegate to the national level, and I wasn't considered at all. I mean, I wrote a 6-page essay about surviving prescription opiate abuse, how I raised 3 kids on my own on minimum wage, how I lived rural America, how I want to be a representative for the people in my community that I know that are standing in those food bank lines that need everything that we're fighting for, the 15 an hour, the single payer, free tuition. I mean, my kids are in college now and we're paying out tons of money to a small town college. And so these were the things I was trying to represent, but absolutely they just, glassed right over me. It wasn't even an option. So I decided I was going to Philadelphia with the Journey for Bernie, which was all points, people coming from every direction across the country. And we all converged in Philadelphia, actually in New Jersey, your hometown, your home state. And I hit the streets of Philadelphia with 100,000 other people to warn the country of what was coming. And the media ignored us. We had stingrays used on us. We had data stole from us. Every video I took was wiped off of my phone. I finally camped in FDR Park for 4 days, and I was on the gates of the DNC all that time. And I seriously have PTSD after coming out of there, and I can't imagine what the people at Standing Rock have. To have those helicopters flying over your heads and to have... There had to have been 70,000 cops in downtown Philly those 4 days, But the most damning thing I'll never forget is I was on the backside of the DNC fence, and it was the final night when they wouldn't let Nina on stage. And you could hear Nina Turner's wails from her gut, just gut-wrenching wails for what the Democratic Party had done to her. They wouldn't let her on stage. She wasn't allowed to talk about Bernie. I mean, I just remember standing on that fence bawling because this is what this party has done to us. And I came home and my group, I was the chair of this Clallam County for Bernie group, which was about 40 strong at that time. They said, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Who are we going to become? Do we go with PIP or do we go with, socialist alt because I'm close to Quashanda Sawant up here? So I branched out. I reached out and I started meeting these people in all these organizations. I started attending, meetings, rallies, and trying to get connected because I have a saying, no progressive left behind. And I just felt like there was all of these progressives so lost. And we didn't know where to go coming out of Philadelphia. So I came home and we hosted a panel called Bernie and Beyond. And we had 5 national delegates on that panel And it was about 3 weeks after the Philadelphia convention. I saw grown men cry. They had been so abused at the DNC convention, the trauma that they suffered. So we were mad. So we decided, you know what? We're going back in the Democratic Party and we're going to be infiltrators. We're going to fight them. We're going to hold the mirror up to their face. And I remember discussing this with people all across the country, and they didn't understand. Like, you don't go in the Democratic Party. It's a lost cause. What are you doing? But we wanted to fight. We wanted to do what Bernie asked us to do. So we immediately joined our Dems full force, and we had to call them to neutral ground, a neutral meeting place. We laid out the abuse that we had felt that we had suffered at their hands locally. Because, it doesn't matter what branch of the Democratic Party you're dealing with, local or your state or your national, they all have the same narrative. So finally, they had no choice but to appoint us a committee because we were asking to be a committee. And this was the former E-Board. So we were the first Democratic Progressive Committee in the state of Washington. And this was in August, the end of August, that we became a committee, a progressive committee of the Democratic Party. So we started holding weekly meetings, which grew huge traction. I would say our biggest meetings, we had maybe 100, 150. And I live in a small area. I mean, it's a very rural area. So to have that many people engaging at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon when they should be at work, that tells me the energy was there and people were excited to engage these things that we were fighting. We did a lot of stuff on Standing Rock, single payer, 15 an hour. I mean, if we hear there's a rally, a protest, we're there supporting it at the time we were a committee. So we decided that we were going to run for the Democratic Party E-Board, the Central Committee Board in our county. And we created a slate and we had shirts printed up and flyers printed up and we built our resumes and we called everybody we knew. We had half the PCOs in the county. They had half the PCOs in the county. And we fought it out in a huge meeting that was just terrible from the get-go. I mean, these Democratic meetings are so stressful. They come at you. I always use the analogy, how do you win a football game when the rules are always changing? If a field goal is now worth 10 points, but when you came into the game, it was only worth 1 or 2, how do you win? So basically, they stuffed the ballot box. They stuffed the ballot box that day, and we caught it. But at that point, a lot of our PCOs had got up and left because they had to go to work. So we settled for co-chairs. So we had a progressive chair and we had an establishment chair in our county. We thought this would bring us unity. And so we revised our bylaws to reflect that we could have co-chairs coexisting, and we started to move forward. Well, the next day we were supposed to meet and the progressives won a supermajority. We took 9 out of the 13 seats. We were excited, victory, we're winning, we're doing what Bernie's telling us to do. And the next day, the handoff where they were supposed to give us the information about the Democratic Party that we were now taking over in our county, they gave us no information. We had no membership lists, no data. Our vote blue is out of date by 7 years. 7 years. There is no data. People want to know why canvassing is so terrible for the Democratic Party because they don't have any information. It's billed by volunteers, and volunteers don't really work on it. So progressing from there, they stopped us at every intersection. Everything we wanted to do, we had to have approved, and it was always a fight. If we wanted to print a flyer out, it had to have the donkey on it, People don't want to see the donkey. The donkey's dead. It's a dead brand. So really, it just became a fight within the party over every piece of information, everything we want to do, every motion, every resolution was always amended. And we really thought we got away with something for maybe 2 months. And then they came at us, and they came at us full force. So I know you got any questions? I'm kind of just.
No, this is good information.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why this is good information. Because people need to learn this. I mean, it's like on and on. I've been involved, and I heard this on and on. We have to go back into the Democratic Party and just try and try again. You're giving us a bird's eye view of why them enter a high probability will not work. And we need to have an alternative, right? And it's just appalling to hear that they don't want to, give up power. All right? This is like beyond recall. I mean, like, I can't even remember a time when it's so blatant in your face. And last year with Bernie, I mean, with what they did to Bernie, what they did to Nina, that was the reason I left. I'm like, you know what? I'm not dealing this anymore. A lot of people are like that. A lot of people. So we need a plan, right? And now you're telling us, right, from a bird's eye view, what they're like on the inside. And they're not nice people. They don't want to have a democracy. They don't want progressives getting involved. They want to just chain you and have you support their candidates that are going to lose anyway.
Right.
All right. So depending on the Democrats for salvation is not even practical.
No, it's not practical at all. So just as an example, last weekend I was in Walla Walla, Washington, which is on the other side of the state from me. It was like an 8-hour drive. And I went to the State Central Democratic Committee meeting. And they had a resolution on the table that says the caucuses cannot endorse or financially support any candidate. They have to listen to the state party on who we can endorse. And this came about because we endorsed Bernie Sanders before the primary last year as our progressive caucus, because the Democratic Party has the Central Committee, and then we have caucuses like the African American Caucus, the Disabled Caucus. We have a progressive caucus in Washington State, which is the largest caucus of the Dems. And so they pretty much told us last weekend that we don't get to choose candidates. We have to listen to what they tell us is their suggestion for a candidate.
Yeah. Let's see. And can you repeat that so that people could get it in their ears?
Right. We are not allowed to endorse a candidate as a caucus of the Democratic Party. It comes from the top down in Washington State from here on out. And that's because we endorsed Bernie Sanders last year and donated, I think, $500 to his campaign as a caucus of the Democratic Party, who was supposed to be supporting Bernie Sanders as a Democrat, right?
Right. So basically, for the people to understand, they don't care what you think.
No,
they don't care who you want. They don't care what your issues are. You could have potholes and your house could be underwater by a hurricane. And if you want a progressive to take care of that issue, they're not going to allow it. They're not.
Let me tell you about these progressives inside the Democratic Party, because we have a lot of them.
Yes.
There's two types. There's the opportunists who probably were Obama delegates in the day. They just want to move up the party as fast as they can, but they want to do it with that progressive label. Now, I've watched one in particular for the last year and a half, and he just made me sick to my stomach. Call himself a progressive, but shoot us down. He even left the party last week. I mean, to see these people that have been fighting within the Democratic Party for the last 18 months, some of them have spent 20 years in the party, and they're just throwing their hands in the air and saying, I can't anymore. I mean, when you've got somebody who has been in the party for 30 years, I know a woman who's been in the party for 30 years. She was on the Rules Committee, and she, she's like, what do we do? What do we do? They don't listen. They don't care. We have Senator Patty Murray from Washington. She's our senior senator. And some of you might remember her name because just this week she came out in support of 15 an hour behind Bernie Sanders, grabbing his coattails. Well, that's funny. Where was she 2 years ago? Where was she a year ago? She was with her. She was with Hillary, who was trying to give us 12. And, this Bernie plan for 15 an hour right now, I'm sorry, by 24, 2024, 15 an hour, that's going to be a slave wage. We'll need 30 an hour by 2024 to even be able to keep up with inflation. Well, I know inflation's a joke, Steve. Don't get mad.
Yeah, and also we need to understand that, the reason why we're having these economic issues is because Congress will not do its job, okay? They will not use their powers to bring about a Green New Deal, a program, right? And we need to bring it about. But, we say, oh, well, FDR, it's the party of the New Deal. No, they're not. They're not. They are just tyrannical. They want to just control things. We saw that in our face. Right. What is it going to take for people to understand that the Democratic Party is done? They're not on our side. They don't care about the people. And the Republicans, don't even talk about them. They have embraced authoritarianism. They have embraced deconstructing the laws that people live by.
Right, they have.
Deconstruct our health care. Come on. I mean, this is, and the Democrats are just standing by and just calling names and destroying progressives and all that. I mean, I just think that it's on the edge of violence, against the people.
Right.
Like the Democratic Party. Basically, what Steve always says, they're killing people by proxy.
They are.
Right? And they're doing that. And so, this is why I brought you on board, because, they put out these fears like, inflation, we can't put more money where people could live, and we cannot appropriate money for the people, for the 99%, and it's like this huge religion, and people get caught up in it. So now that the matrix has broken, I don't know what the Democratic Party has left. And your story is fascinating because this is in real time, and you've seen all of it. Let the people know how nasty they can get.
Oh, I'll tell you how nasty. Okay, so we had a amendment on the floor during our state convention last year, which would have allowed an officer to be removed from their chair. And that was for a reason. That was wrote so we could try to remove some of these chairs and put some real progressives in those chairs. And we had a plan. We had 3/4 of the supporters in that convention were Bernie supporters. I mean, Washington State went overwhelmingly for Bernie. And no matter how much we would get in front of our super delegates' faces and beg them, it was already decided. You just knew by talking to them. And I remember one time we were in a fight over a resolution about trying to do away with super delegates. And they whipped out a little piece of paper. And it was an amendment that had been wrote in August of 2015 by the Democratic Party that said we don't have the right to ask a superdelegate to change their vote. You know what happened in August of 2015? They had a boot camp gathering for all of the superdelegates, and Hillary was there. They foresaw that we were going to ask them to change their votes, and they passed a resolution so we couldn't. I was almost floored. It had the date on it and everything. So anyways, we get into the state convention, and we're going to make this motion to remove the state chair, who at the time was Jackson Ravens. And I watched so-called progressives come up to the author of that amendment and tell him, if you don't withdraw this amendment right now, you're not going to the DNC as a Bernie delegate. You're not going anywhere. You will not move up the ladder at all in the Democratic Party.
Repeat that so people could get it, because, this is going to be played over and over again, and this is a very valuable show. I want you to repeat that very thing again.
Okay. So we had an amendment on the floor to remove an officer. It was wrote by a young Democrat, and progressives cornered him 1 minute. And I was already at the mic waiting to make the motion. I had a speech ready to go that would have fired up those Bernie supporters, Bernie delegates. Let's change this right now. Let's vote to take him out of his chair. We'll vote and put a progressive in right now. Let's be the first state to take control of this. And they forced him, told him they would strip him of his credentials, that he would not go any further in the Democratic Party if he did not withdraw this amendment. I was floored. These were progressives. These were people I'd been fighting alongside for months. And I could not fathom for the life of me why they had done this. And it only took, a couple more months for me to see that it's that way every time. Anytime that we become a threat to them, they make an amendment, they do a resolution. I mean, look at Nevada. The Roberta's rules. If you look at how fast that vote went south, she adjourned, boom, they were out the door. This is the type of meeting. What you saw in Nevada is what's happening across the country in little Democratic meetings all over. And I know this because I have gone to the next county over and the next county over and the next county over's Democratic meetings trying to find my progressives. And so basically what I did was we're an organic group. Our energy came from Bernie, I'm assuming. But, he fueled us, and one came and two came and three came. And next thing I know, we're having these huge meetings every Friday and everybody wants to do something. People are engaged right now, but because we don't have a direction and the Democratic Party is not it, we're splintering. We are splintering fast.
And you know what? The Democratic Party, see, we need to get heavy metal on people. You know what I mean? We need to get out of this emo state of mind that progressives have been in. We need to become a bit more aggressive about what we want, because it's, they're just it's just outraging, that they are willing to be so bold and they expect people to be quiet about it. And, you know what? I better just do what the Democrats said. This has been going on for years, right? Yeah. But now they're doing it in our face. So now we have a bit of power now because we have the power of the internet, which they're going after now. Don't be fooled, people. They're going after net neutrality. They're going after, that's the first, because we can't communicate. We can't bring in programs that we want. We can't bring in, we will not be able to take over Congress. We will not get the presidency. We have to be aggressive every day because this is what they do. What Chanda is talking about happens all the time. It's not just a one-off. It's not like, well, they were mean then. Maybe they won't be mean now. Or, well, if there's enough of us, we'll take over and then we'll just have a party because there's a structure there. That structure is not made for you. It's not made for me or any progressive. And that's why we have to now start our own thing. And
to be clear, I haven't dim exited. I haven't officially dim exited. I am an elected PCO, which is a precinct committee officer. You have to apply for that. You have to file just like you're a candidate. And I'm elected by the people. I ran unopposed, so I, voted for myself and won. But I always kind of felt like, well, I have a voice, still in the Democratic Party as I'm an elected officer. But that's not true at all. So let me tell you what happened. We had the co-chair situation going on. Our chair coming out of a meeting where the establishment wasn't handling that she made, and to adjourn during a good of the order. Now, what us progressives have really had 18 months is entry procedure. Most of us come in, we don't know how to make an motion, make an amendment, anything like that. I have a book everywhere with me. And basically that's how they do it. That's how they screw us every Robert's rules and parliamentary procedure. They know they can't make a motion to add votes to our e-board by 2, which is outrageous in itself. So we reported this to our local police, and 4 of us went in and filed the report and called back from the prosecuting attorney. Of course, he's a Republican. Funny that the Dems were fighting state and our state chapter of the Dems and reported it to them that our female chair, and let me tell you, being a female in the Democratic Party, this party are high up because they are chosen and ordained to be there by the corporate elites. People like Pelosi, I see.
I want you to repeat that because your audio went out. And this is a very important piece I want people to hear about being a female in the Democratic Party.
When you're a female in the Democratic Party, you are subjected to many things that a man would never be subjected to. To hold a chair as a female, I mean, Washington State just elected our first Democratic chair since 1992. And I got behind her. I supported her. I knew she probably wasn't that progressive, but it was better than what we had, which was a Republican in Democrats' clothing, so, and a man at that. But to be a woman in the Democratic Party, you have to be preordained by the corporate elites in order to move up. There's a reason that these female senators and congressmen stay in their seats for 25 years. I mean, 30 years, they're paid to be there. That's what they're doing there. So after we reported it to the state, we were hoping because we had a female chair, she would be sympathetic that another female was assaulted. No, the party and the state just ignored it. And then they came back telling us we need to change our bylaws that we're not allowed to have co-chairs. They stripped our co-chair, our progressive co-chair, of her title and threw her out. Nope, you can't be a chair. You're done. Yeah. And when that happened, we had taken so much abuse to that point that we just saw a mass resignation of all of our progressives. I mean, we had it. We tried to go into an executive meeting to talk about this assault, and it was stormed by the establishment. And it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I've still got it recorded to this day. They were screaming at us that we had no shame. And we were just calm and cool as can be. We were professional. And they were calling us names and, screaming and yelling. And finally, we just adjourned and walked out. And it was that day that almost our whole entire board quit. They just were done with the Democratic Party.
That is, what you just told me is the most shameful thing, shady thing I've ever heard, because we're living in the 21st century. We're all equal. We should all be empowering each other. And here we are with the same old Democratic Party pulling the same old tricks on minorities and women.
Yep.
Put up their tokens up there, and they want to say we're so fair, and we want to, we love everybody. And behind the scenes, they're doing stuff like that. And it's upsetting, it's upsetting. But as progressives, we have to use this to realize that going back to the Democratic Party is not an option. It's not an option, and we need to come up with policies. We need to include modern monetary theory in our economic policies.
Yes.
So that's a change. That's a change in the progressive direction. We need to have a new foreign and defense policy. One thing is being anti-war. Another thing is not having a plan to end the war and not being able to work with officers in the government. We have to be able to speak to that. These are things that we're going to need so we can have another party that is way more powerful than the Democratic Party, way fairer, because right now the Democratic Party, they're acting like petty dictators. I mean, they're on par with Trump. I mean, I'm going to say it again. The Democratic Party, they're on par with Trump. And it's just not, it's not conducive. And I think we just lost her. I think her computer is having issues, so we're going to hold it down to Chanda gets back. But, this is an issue. Her story is important. And this is why I brought her on. Because, there is no, yes, we voted for Democrats because we thought that they had progressive values. We thought that they wanted to work with the people. We thought that they wanted to bring back a New Deal. We thought that they knew economics. We thought, especially with Obama, was supposed to turn around our foreign policy so we're not in these proxy wars. And apparently we got back into Yemen. We're still in this mindset. And thanks for coming back. I want to make sure I could hear you. Can we hear you? We're having audio issues. We can't hear you. So I'm just going to keep going until we can. And then you could just voice, keep working on it. I'm not sure what's going on with your system. but that's fine. This is the internet. Like I always say, this is the internet, and we're guerrilla radio here. Okay, and our world required a leader that was willing to turn it around in 2008. Obviously, we weren't going to get that with Hillary Clinton. We weren't going to get that with McCain, right? Obama was going to be our progressive president. And as soon as he got in, he was influenced by old economic policies, neoliberalism, where you drain the resources of the people and put it into the pockets of the fat cats and the 1%. He used the same foreign policy, the same Bush doctrine. This is truth. The Bush doctrine was the Obama doctrine. He expanded the powers of the presidency. I mean, look at him taking $400,000 from Wall Street to speak. And I have a very good friend. We were having a discussion about it the other night, and he's a bit conservative, but we get along really well because we have a civil conversation. And we both agree that both parties are garbage. But it was interesting because...
That's what I say. This is home.
There she is. I'm going to tell a story about me and my friend having a conversation about Obama and his, taking the $400,000. He was supposed to be our progressive president. He walked into one, right? He had no policies backing him up. He had nothing. He was in the Senate. So you should have known about modern monetary theory, sovereign monetary systems. And he should have been perpetuating that. But he wasn't prepared. So he fell into all these old habits because he was a Democrat.
The Democrat.
And Democrats, that's what Democrats do. They sell you out.
Yes.
They sell you out. Don't think that the Democrats are like, oh, well, we believe in you now. That's what they're trying to do. We believe in you now. They have Perez going around dodging questions and stuff.
I love that, though. Bernie was forced to have to work with the Democratic Party. It's easy for him to tell us to go in and change it from the bottom up. But he has his office. He's in his Senate. He doesn't have, he has to work with them across the aisle, but he doesn't have to elbow grease and work with them. I think Bernie got a taste of what it's like to work with the Dems being out on the road with Tom Perez. And I love it. I used to tweet him daily, Bernie, it's not working. We cannot change the party. We are trying faithfully and it's not working.
Exactly. Bernie, I'm sure he understands that the Democrats, I just wonder what sort of strategy, but we're losing time.
We are losing time and we're losing momentum because of the amount of time we've lost.
And Bernie is key to this, but if we don't get him back, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
It's not the end of the world. We just have to be aggressive and saying and telling Democrats that you're not going to get our vote. We're not coming back. We don't care. We know that you're a right-wing party. We know that you support neoliberalism.
Yes.
We know that you support bombing. I don't want to support bombing. I'm not going to vote for another Democrat again. Because
the Democratic Party used to have an anti-war wing. Have you ever heard that? Did you know that? I mean, I was shocked. Where are they now? You're not even allowed to talk about anti-war in the party anymore.
Oh, yeah, because, bombing people is good.
No, they shut the lights out on us. If you remember at the DNC, they shut the lights out on the anti-war protesters.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Bombing is good. Come on, progressives. You don't like war. Not even the people in the military love war. It's their duty to go out and go on the missions, but they don't like it. It's just like, so for civilians to say, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to support it anyways. You're being an armchair quarterback. You don't have to be in the front lines. You watch it on TV. Why are you voting for it? Why are you supporting it? It doesn't make any sense. So, your story is telling, and people should watch this over and over again, and people should be sharing the show with their friends. Don't be bashful. Just share it with them. Because if they're demented and making all these excuses about, well, Trump and all this. Look, Trump it's a presidency. He's a president. The Republicans are running the Congress. And now we have a majority in the Supreme Court, right? So the damage has been done. and the Democrats helped that happen. So why are you going back? They're not going to win the midterm election. They never do. It's insane to even think that you're going to go back and change anything. We could do it.
So to my end is, okay, so we couldn't reform the Democratic Party from the inside. We tried for a year. My committee, it was a committee at the time, tried for a year. We held very high spots. I mean, the county chair. We could not change anything. Every resolution, the Russian narrative. They brought in a resolution trying to get us to support an investigation into Russia's interference into the election, which we, of course, laughed off and said, okay, we'll support this, but we want it to include a full investigation into the election and everybody who was involved in any kind of election fraud. I feel like until we address the big, huge elephant in the room, which nobody, not even Bernie himself, talks about, which is election fraud, we don't have a chance of changing anything. How do we win races when they can change the vote on us? I am convinced Jill Stein got higher than she did. I am convinced that they suppressed it on purpose because they cannot allow these third parties to rise up because that breaks the duopoly. How do we change election fraud and Citizens United? I think those are the two most important things we have to tackle as a movement. Tell me how we do it.
How we do it is that we stay conscious. A federal jobs guarantee, what's better than that? Putting people to work in the country. There's people who are able-bodied and brilliant college grads in America who don't have a job.
Yeah. Because
there's no industry.
Nope.
And all of our money is going overseas because we're buying all these imports from China and different countries. It's not their fault. It's just, we buy things. And now our economy at home is artificially restricted. So guess what? We're dependent on dropping bombs to employ people to make the bombs and the tanks and all these weapons and jets that really the military, the Pentagon is saying, we don't need this.
Well, and you can thank NAFTA for that. And I want to give a shout out to every person who got out there and fought the TPP. That was awesome. We shut that down, and that was the progressives that shut that down. You can say it was Trump, but a lot of that heat came from the progressives. TPP would have been even more devastating to our economy than NAFTA ever was. By voting for Bill Clinton in 92, I supported NAFTA, and I didn't even realize it. The fact that we've lost our tariffs in this country, and yeah, some people don't understand what tariffs are, but, they're good. They're being paid for your goods and services. When we ship our goods away, that's how we make our money as a country. And because pockets are being lined of the global elite, we're not seeing that at the bottom. The workers, the workers in this country, they have done everything they can to bust our unions in the last 40 years. They have done everything they can to put us into Walmart jobs where we're not allowed. Do you know at my local Walmart, if you even say the word union, they will fire you. They will send you home. You're not allowed to talk unions because unions represent power of the people. We've got to get behind these workers' unions. We've got to support them. That's how we, and today being May 1st, how ironic is it that we're talking about this? I really feel the workers' movement needs our support as progressives 100%.
And the way that we do it is we get Congress to do their job and use the sovereign authority of America and go into the Appropriations Committee, put the proper amount into jobs program for federal jobs guarantee, and rebuild this country's infrastructure, and do all the things that America needs right here. We could do it. We could do it in 15 days if Congress really wanted to do it. But we have two parties that are bought off, and they're trying to tell us they're doing the right thing, and they're inevitable. People don't remember that we had a Federalist Party and a Whig Party. Where are they? Right. Can somebody find me a Federalist?
Honestly, I didn't know a lot about federal spending or funding when I first joined this movement 2.5 years ago. It was only through Steve and through Jill Stein, her explanation of the Green New Deal, that really I was like, oh my gosh, it dawned on me that I had ate this lie for so long about taxes and inflation and we can't do anything about these debts. Oh my gosh, we're in so much debt.
Yeah.
Diane laid it out so well for us, and God bless her for it.
And I'm going to say this: government deficits is, private profits. They have money. The government is designed to do that. It's not bad. It's every republic. If you know political philosophy and you know economics, governments are not run like households. Yeah. And it's a powerful. And this is what scares me. The Democrats and Republicans concern me because now they act like they want to sell America to the IMF and World Bank. If that happens, then we definitely will be down, what's creek. But you can't. Yeah,
I think we probably got one foot already into the World Bank. The second one's on its way. There's so many issues that we're up against as progressives, but we can't go back to sleep. We can't go back into the Democratic Party. We have to take to the streets and fight. That's really what it's about. We have to organize and get behind these unions, get behind these movements. I'm excited for the People's Summit. I support Draft Bernie 100%. I feel like if we go into Chicago, we might have a chance of coming out with the People's Party. And I really feel like that's the only hope we have at this point.
Did you get your, I know that the People's Summit, they're doing like pre-approvals. Did you get approved? Because I'm still waiting.
Have you?
No.
Okay, I sent off the application like a week ago. And
yeah, it's different than last year, but
right, last year you just went, right?
Yeah, I went last year. It was great, and now we're going back, and yes, it would be great if we walked out with a People's Party and put down the Democratic Party, basically putting them to sleep because they're not going to be able to help us at all.
Oh, it would crush them.
Exactly, and this country takes you need to fight for it. This is not something that you're going to watch on TV. No celebrity is going to come out and save you. No celebrity is going to come out and say, you know what, I support you guys. I'm going to put a lot of money into you. No, we have to do it from the grassroots. That's why we're a grassroots party, which is the People's Party, which is the organization. We are progressives. We all go there. And this is my another next question to you, because we have a lot of division amongst progressives because there's so many organizations.
Yes, I've been dealing with it a lot lately.
Yeah. And something like the People's Party or the Progressive Independence Party or umbrella organizations could fit it all together. But, what is it going to take to finally do that? Because 2018 is coming around the corner and summer is not here, and I realize that. So that's, a month in politics is an eon. But what is it going to take for progressives to all be on the same page and provide that force we're going to need to crush Democrats in elections?
Well, for one, it takes getting away from the Democratic Party. There is no hope in the Democratic Party. There is no running your candidate aligned with the Democrats to get the Democratic vote. You might as well be aligned with the Republicans trying to get their votes because it's undoable. It's not going to work. But I want to say, groups like PIP, Progressive Independent Party, PIP, Eric Blas, she was a campmate of mine in Philadelphia. We'd never met, It was only after day 2 that I understood that she was the founder of PIP. I just thought she was somebody grocery shopping for us. But they have done a really great job. PIP has been attacked repeatedly. And I watch real progressives get attacked too, There's so much division and divisiveness within the progressives. And a lot of it, I believe, is PTSD. We don't know who to trust. How many times have, we had a group turn out to be an infiltrator group, or have we had our we've been screwed over so much. It's hard to know who to trust.
Absolutely.
And so, stick with the issues. That's what we do. We stick with the issues. My coalition now, we fight for the platform, Bernie's platform, 15 an hour, single payer, free college, infrastructure across the country. I'm going to tell you, when I took the journey for Bernie, I drove from Seattle, Washington to Philadelphia. When I hit the Columbia River, which is one of the biggest rivers in our country, the water level had dropped about 25 feet from the last time I crossed it a couple of years ago. It was like a punch in the gut to see that much water missing out of our rivers. When I hit Montana, I couldn't see the Rockies on a clear day because of fracking haze. When I hit Chicago, the overpasses looked like they were falling out of the sky, only being held up by the amount of homeless that were underneath of them. I know in Philadelphia, they cleaned the streets off of the homeless, which was sad to me. I don't know what they did with them. I did encounter some there. And, these are huge, serious issues right now in our country. Homelessness, where I live in Seattle, is insanity. I mean, the amount of people, and we have no compassion anymore. I'm a humanist before I'm anything. I am here to take care of my brothers and my sisters. We can't drink oil. I once said to my Democratic committee woman, my granddaughter can't drink oil. And she said, get over it. We're addicted to oil. Get over it? I won't get over it. So, we stay in these groups, we keep fighting, we keep interacting, we keep moving forward. And even if Bernie doesn't come on with us, which he most likely not. I mean, look at how old he is. He should be retiring and relaxing after waking this country up. I appreciate that. I will always love and respect him. He is the only politician that every time he gets before a camera, he talks about those in need. He talks about, jobs. He talks about wages. You don't hear other politicians doing that. So you hear people, I'm done with Bernie, screw Bernie. He screwed us over. No, he woke us up. He did an incredible thing. And now it's up to us to figure it out. And we know who our leaders are.
Absolutely. And basically, this is what I think. Bernie, I always respect Bernie. I'm trying to figure out what sort of strategy he's using. But Bernie Sanders, you need to finish what you started.
Yes.
You can't just stay in the Democratic Party. That's not a part of the plan. That is a complete diversion from your whole career. Why did you back in the 60s? All the way being consistent throughout your political career. And then you're going to stay with the Democratic Party when the movement is going towards something bigger and better. Finish what you started, man. Don't stay in a party that doesn't care about you because they're not going to treat you well. And that's all I have to say about Bernie. Bernie is a good guy. I know it. I feel it. He marched with Martin Luther King. But he would wreck that if he stays at a party that really, they had nothing to do with
they do it. Look at Obama. Obama didn't have to hitch his cart to Hillary and ruin his legacy, but he did.
He ruined even more by taking that money from Wall Street just to make a speech. I mean, when you talk about lack of integrity, right. I'm sorry, but Obama is a big disappointment. I hope he gives that money back, but he's not. So you know what? Fine. You put him in office and he wants to treat us like that, fine. But we're going to keep on fighting until they try to clamp down on democracy, which they're trying to do. And maybe they're using Trump to do it. That's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but whatever. I don't care about that. What I do care about...
I believe in them. I believe in all the conspiracy theories. I used to, that's a conspiracy theory. I think almost every conspiracy theory I've ever heard in my life was eventually proven to be true. At least some bit of fact of it was. So, this youth... Facebook, I've been on Facebook for 8 years. Just in the last 18 months, we have seen the increase of censorship. Jill Stein was completely shut down on Facebook. I remember trying to share a post last year, and I was told it doesn't meet community standards, and it was a PBS post. A PBS post doesn't meet community standards, and it was because it was Jill Stein. I think everybody is experiencing this at some level of your posts aren't shared, they disappeared. I can tell which posts are not being put into the news feed. Real progressives, sorry, babe, but your algorithm doesn't allow it. And it's because they're trying to silence our voices the best that they can.
And, we will find other means of getting the word out because, and you're absolutely right. They use algorithms and mathematics and once you understand there's a lot of math involved, a lot of science and physics, and they're using economics against people, and they're using policy against people, as soon as we become keen to all of this, we will win. And you know, we have 5 minutes left, but this show has been phenomenal because.
Yeah, I feel like I left so much out. There's so many things that have happened in the last 2 years. Thank you, Dan.
Well, you know what? Give us the worst thing that the Democrats have ever done. Let the public know. Give us the worst thing you could think about.
What is the worst thing the Democrats ever done? Well, other than stripping our county chair after she was assaulted instead of dealing with the situation, that was pretty disheartening. What is the worst thing they did? They robbed Bernie of the election. Are you kidding me? They took money from Americans and lied to us.
They robbed Bernie and all of us. That is the biggest piece of garbage crap you could think of, and they're never going to do it to us again. Ever.
Well, and I hate to break all y'all's hearts, but this lawsuit that's going on in Florida, come on. We know what's going to happen. We know they're going to side with the corporate elites because they are the corporate elites, and they're going to tell us you should have known. They don't have to do anything. They can do what they want.
Well, you know what they did say is that the Democrats and their lawyers would say, well, you know, we can choose anyone we want. We can go into any smoke-filled room and smoke cigars and choose anyone we want. So that's the end of it. It's ridiculous.
As ridiculous as that is, most attorneys will agree with you. That was probably their best, boldest move because I don't think that there is a law that forces them to answer to the donors, small individual donors. We have no say in the party at all, and nowhere in the paperwork does it say we have a say. So I actually think that we'll get shut down like always, and it will be because of that.
Well, this show has been phenomenal, and Chanda, I really thank you for giving the public and progressives a great hour.
Thank you.
And you know, I would love to have you back at one point and another point, and just quickly let the public know what you're doing. What's next for you?
What's next for me is I've stepped down as chair of the Progressive Coalition. As soon as we left the Democratic Party, we became a coalition with chairs that represent Draft Bernie, Progressive Independent. We have lots of chairs. We have some local parties, racial justice, those type of things. That we're doing local events. And what's next for me is I am signing on to a senatorial campaign. We are going to go after our junior senator in Washington State. This is a woman who doesn't support single payer. She went to Miami University and now is worth $11 million. She's been in her chair for like 15 years. She worked for Mark Glasser of Microsoft. You know, she's not representing the people at all. You can't contact her. You know, you contact her office, they'll blow smoke at you, whatever. So we're going to try to get some real representation in the Senate. It's a long shot, but, you know, we got to make it.
Well, you know what? I hope you get all the support you need in Washington State. And, you know, progressives all over the country, you know, reach out. We'll try to spread the word, and we will continue to fight. And I want to thank you for coming on the show and hope to have you on again.
John, you do a great thing. I love talking to you. You know, like minds. It's wonderful. All you progressives out there, stay together. Quit tearing each other apart. You know, man, we're based in love. We're burners. We got to keep fighting.
All right. Well, great. And you have a good night. And everyone, brought a show to you today. And thanks for coming and watching the show and spread it. Keep spreading it. And you have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.